we need to have spontaneous scenario sessions, right? In other words, we're going to do something where we set up a training session and we don't really know what's going to happen. And maybe the opponents know, where we have one person approach us and they're going to talk, and then the next thing we know, we're getting attacked from the side. And then we go through these different scenarios. If you fall on the ground, maybe somebody throws in a knife, and you're flowing from scenario to scenario, right? Because we have to cultivate spontaneity. We have to have responsibility. We have to be able to respond to what is. And see, through this training, having different scenarios, you're never going to know how you're going to respond unless you do it in a way that's unexpected, right? Isn't life like that? Like you think you know, and then it happens, and you responded in a totally different way, right? This happens probably with pickup. You go, you got all the lines, you do everything. The first time you go talk to a girl, you follow up, right? It's just, that's the way it is. Because the scenarios, we've got to do another thing. We've got to train different scenarios, because you want to flow from range to range and art to art without getting stuck anywhere, right? You even need to make mistakes and recover from your mistakes. So we have to do scenario training, but then we have to pressure test everything. You got to pressure test everything, because if you don't, once again, you might get caught in a paradigm. You might get caught in a system, in a system of false belief. You can do a million different disarms and have some really good training methods to deal with the knife and taking a knife away. And in fact, there's a lot of knife arts that are highly evolved, and you see the top guys and they're moving really fast, taking knives away like that. And you can get to a high level, but a lot of times they don't add pressure. And what pressure is getting a guy who's going to really stab you. He's not going to go along with you. You don't know what angle it's coming at, and he's just going to come at you with intent and pressure. And you have to try that disarm. And if it doesn't work, what do? We throw it out. But it becomes a process of self-discovery, right? So we're constantly running into the cause of our own ignorance, right? You're constantly refining that which doesn't work and throwing it out. And you probably are going to get down to the one or two things that work best for you. And you'll find that in certain scenarios, in certain environments, what you thought worked before doesn't work, and you have to change it out, right? But it's the thinking and being able to change yourself on the fly that's changing you, right? The ability to change your thinking on the fly is what changes you, right? Because we're pressure testing. We're moving from everything. We have to do one more thing. We have to get aliveness in our drills. You still need to drill your techniques and your basics, right? But we want to do it in a way that's alive. And what we mean by that is we want to add movement, right? If you're just working your jab, cross, and hook, and you're just standing still, that's not realistic, right? We have to work out a movement. So we want our partner, if they're holding pads, to move. And what this does physiologically is you're training your visual cortex. You're training your spatial relationship, right? And this whole thing, training in this way, no matter what the style or particular scenario is, teaches you and forces you to change your focus, right? It keeps you in the present moment. Sorry. So by going through this type of training, all of a sudden, you're forced to be present. Because if your mind slips in at any moment when you're with a partner, training partner, they're going to punch you in the face. So you get immediate feedback. And it forces you to train your focus to be in the present moment, right? Because I was saying that the past and the future don't exist. They're mental concepts. Because you can only experience the past, and you can only experience the future in your mind, right? It's not to say that the past and future don't exist, but if you look at the truth of the way of things, everything is one continual present moment, is it not? It's just constantly changing. It might have the illusion of being still, but if we break things down, we know that everything's constantly changing. And so by training in this way, you're training your focus to be more in the present moment. And as society, the way it's structured now, all of us are split when we're going from the phone to this screen, and it does something to your attention. We are finding it harder and harder to be present. And my contention is that the longer you train, because it's not a state you can train. Nobody can be in the present moment all the time, right? We have to think, and we think about things in the past and in the future. But if we train it, we'll find that we are actually have our focus in the present moment more often, right? So we have the present moment, and we have our response ability. So now right? So now we are increasing our responsibility, and there's an inverse relationship to this. So this just means that there's external stimuli, something changes, and we adapt, right? You move like an echo, you respond like an echo. It moves, you move, whatever that song is, right? You're increasing your response ability. And this has an inverse relationship to what in gun training, which originally came from fighter pilot training, is your OODA loop, or OODA loop, right? OODA, it's an acronym. So it's observe, orient, decide, act. You observe the threat, you orient yourself to it, you decide, and you act. And we're decreasing this, and we're increasing our responsibility. And what I believe is that we're getting more out of our left brain, if you want to use that model, and we're getting more into your right brain. And that kills your internal dialogue. It kills the critical mind, which kills your response ability, right? How many of us get caught in analysis paralysis, and then the opportunity passes us by, right? Everybody. That's a function of getting stuck in your left brain and looking at all the different possibilities instead of just making a move. Even if that move's a mistake, now you have a feedback and you move off that, right? So we're getting into the right brain.
Transitioning into business and being the better expression of yourself. He's a first-degree black belt under William Vandry. He also has trained with Paul Vunak, certified JKD instructor. The list goes on and on. Mr. Ed Aiken. What's up, man?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. All right. So this is my second time at the 21 convention where it's limited, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is great for what? Ground fighting, right? There's a few things standing up, and they do train against the other ranges, but for all intents and purposes, it's a ground fighting art, right? They don't. The last time I was in jiu-jitsu, we did not wrestle with a knife, right? Some places do, but that's where you can start to look and say, okay, where is my system? Where is my what I'm relying on? Where is it limited? And but you're still communicating and expressing yourself. And if you're abstract enough to kind of see what, what the correlations is, then by changing one area of your life, you change the others, right? And what we find is that we find ourselves in the zone.